Well, here I am back in Reno. So, as I said before I moved back here about 5 months ago, I kept hearing hotel in my head. And I moved back to Reno, and by the graces of an ex landlord, she gave me a place to stay. Otherwise, I would be on the streets right now. Very grateful for her graciousness. I ended up moving into a hotel. Built in 1916. It is there's a lot of old hotels here in Reno. This is definitely one of them. I love this place. I love this place. Um, Everyone here has had paranormal experiences, not just me. I knew that this place was haunted right away. The first 3 nights that I was here, I had occurrences and I talked about them with some of the neighbors and my landlord, and I got confirmed that apparently everyone here also has experiences. I have some stories. So here I am at a hotel built in 1916. I love this place. I love my apartment. Anyway, so I got back to Reno, and there's been a lot of hostility. I've had to file 6 police reports so far of violence, and I left out a couple of reports that I didn't file as well. Not sure why, but that's not even including all the times that aggression came close as well. So there's that just in the last 4 months that I've been back. I'm also currently under trial of somebody attacking me and me defending myself with a weapon. And I am forced into sobriety right now and currently proceeding trial. So there is that. Now, after I got here, so with my psychic abilities, with the position I'm in, I have always felt like I'm 3 feet above the ground. I feel like I'm not always on the ground, and I'm elevated about 3 feet above the ground. And so I went to a fair downtown this summer, and there was some energy bracelets, some energy grounding bracelets, and I touched it, and I came back down to earth, and my head got clear. And so I ended up buying one of those bracelets, and that's when I came back down to earth. And so I wore that bracelet for about a month until I got Moldavite. I got Moldavite about a month and a half ago, and I had heard about Moldavite, and I had always wanted to get Moldavite, but I never bought any online because I didn't know if they were fraudulent. So I went to this fair. It was a Positive Vibes fair, and they had genuine Moldavite. So I bought some. I bought some Moldavite, and it was about 2 to 3 days after I had gotten the Moldavite that it really had made a difference in me. The Tesla bracelet had brought me back down to earth and made my head so much more clear, because it was a scrambled radio in my head before that. And so the Tesla bracelet really brought me back down with my feet on the ground. And then about 3 days after I had started wearing the Moldavite, a lot of the extra toxicity had kind of gone. And that was also, as soon as I got the Moldavite, was also when bird feathers started following me everywhere I went. Every single day, everywhere I went for a month and a half, bird feathers directly in my path. It didn't matter if I changed plans and did something on the last second, bird feather. And so that had been going on for about a month and a half. And I had really started making progress with the Moldavite. But after I got the Moldavite, something told me, what did it say? Something told me, bad luck. And so I tried to dismiss it because that's the last thing I need, but I've learned to trust. And so after that happened, I was leaving my house and I had a bird fly pretty much in my face and almost fell off my bike. I was riding past a car and some guy opened the car doors. I was riding past and I almost got hit. So there was two different occurrences where bad luck happened. And then when I get to where I'm going, I realize my Tesla bracelet's gone. And I'm like, shit. So I retrace my steps 3 different times trying to find my Tesla bracelet. And it was never found. And it was shortly after that I had heard the word abundance. And that's when the bird feathers started following me everywhere. Bird feathers are very symbolic in meaning. You can look it up. And I also had been telling my mother about the bird feather situation about 2 weeks after it started. Because when it was happening, I just kind of was like, that's weird. But when I noticed it was still happening a month later and weeks later, that's when I'm like, there's meaning to this. So I told my mother about it. And my mother had recently come to town and we were talking about it. And I told my mom about my Tesla bracelet, about the Moldavite, about the bird feathers. And we were having a discussion over lunch. And I told her, I said, Mom, I get these dreams a lot where I run and I jump and I'm flying and I'm hovering over everybody and I'm watching everybody below me. Or somebody's trying to attack me and I run and jump and I'm up in the sky and they can't get me. And I'm having these flying dreams all the time and they're my favorite dreams. And she said, you used to get those dreams a lot when you were a kid. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, I remember when you were a kid, you got those dreams a lot and they always were your favorite. And my mother actually had to talk to me multiple times that I couldn't fly and that I needed to differentiate dreams and reality. Because when I was a kid, I thought I could fly and I couldn't tell the difference between dreams and reality. And I'm like, now that's really odd because that actually makes a lot of sense as to why I am the way I am and why I have such a God complex as well. Because I like being elevated and watching everybody else. And I love the feeling of flying. And so we talked about that, and that was amazing. And we talked about the fact that when I was a kid, I had woken up from a nap one time. I think I was maybe like 4 or 5. And I had woke up from a nap, and I jumped off my bed trying to fly, and I landed on, those old school plastic picnic tables for kids, those really old ones. I had jumped off my bed and landed on that because I was trying to fly, and I had fractured my growth bone and was in a cast. And so I didn't realize that until my mother said that when I was a kid, I had those same dreams, and they were always my favorite, and they still are today. And all the stuff going on. So that was really cool. I found that out a couple weeks ago when my mom came to visit. So there's that. Now, alright, so a couple months ago, so I was ready to go to war. There's something that happens with me when I'm ready to go to war. There's natural disasters and natural occurrences. I've talked about this many times. The last time was when I was in Reno and I was going to a job interview at a casino for surveillance. And before my interview, I was sitting there and I was scrolling through news articles, and I'm just pissed off in general. I'm just always pissed off in general. And I was scrolling through these articles and I found an article that really pissed me off, that was kind of insulting to me. And so I wrote about it on Facebook, and I sat there angry, ready to go to war. And it was time for my interviewer, so I called my interviewer so he could come downstairs. And I stood up. And as soon as I stood up, my interviewer answered the phone and said, I'll be down there in a minute. He comes downstairs and he tells me, did you feel that earthquake? And I said, what? When? And he said, as soon as you called me and I answered, there was an earthquake. You didn't feel it? And I was like, no, but I'm honestly not very surprised, and I'll tell you why. So we get into the room and I tell him my story. Mind you, he's an ex-cop who's been in the service for a long time, and he works in surveillance at the casino. So I told him my story. Of course I didn't get the job because I sound like a nutcase. And so after the interview, I look it up, and it's true that there was an earthquake. And I just so happened to stand up right when it happened, and I didn't know that there was an earthquake until he came downstairs and told me that it happened right as he answered my call, right when I had stood up. And mind you, the song The Devil Went Down to Georgia was also playing at the same time. So that was the last time that I was ready for war. And about a little bit after that, I was in a big argument on Facebook about the Christian Mafia. I had been going on rants about that for a couple months. And lightning had struck one of the oldest churches in America in Massachusetts. And I remember when that happened. And I remember at the beginning of that, them talking about how that church was preaching LGBTQ wokeness. And that's why God struck it down. And mind you, I was already in this debate about the Christian Mafia anyway. So I look into it, I check their Facebook. Nothing on their Facebook. I scrolled down past a year. I scrolled so far down their Facebook, nothing. Nothing of LGBTQ, nothing of wokeness, nothing of either two, period. And I went to their Twitter. And everything before the lightning strike was completely deleted. Everything before that was completely deleted. And I'm like, this is really fishy. This is pretty fishy. So I waited. I waited about a month after that and looked back into it. Found out that they did some fact checking, and that was all propaganda as well. So there was that. So I'll save that for another video. Anyway, so here I am.